to either amend or remove the motion that was on the table.
I'll make a motion to remove Mr. McCarty's motion made on December 14th from the table and continue the discussion related to option 2 of building a new elementary school.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved by Shannon, seconded by Phil. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of removing the motion? Raise your right hand. All in favor, or that motion carries 5-0. So we want to pick up where we left off, and as we continue this discussion, if you recall, if you watched the last meeting or if you were here, we were talking about, do we build new, do we refurbish this building, and all the pros and cons of all that. And I don't know that we'll go through all of those points again, but as we look at what are the best options, I do feel like, I want to kind of throw this out there, that I feel like we've all done our homework. I think we've all asked a ton of questions. We've talked to Lancer and BB a bazillion times, and they're probably tired of the questions and like rolling their eyes. There's a lot to be considered. It's a huge decision, and I feel like we've all talked to different people, community members, administrators, parents, and I don't know where this will take us, but I feel like we're probably at a point where we can bring another motion and make a decision of which path. It doesn't mean we're going to follow some, it's a path, it's not a specific plan. And you know, we're making the decision based on the information that we've been given. We're making the best decision with the information we've been given to this point. And you know, it's like any big life decision. If you had a crystal ball, there's some things you wouldn't do over. There's some things you wish you had done. I think we have to move forward by making the decision with the information we've been given. Greg's been a great help with all the financial piece and, you know, giving us that information. But I guess I just want everyone to know that I feel like we've done our homework, and without having a crystal ball, we move forward with the information that we have. So Jack, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I wondered if I could add just a couple of thoughts to that. First of all, I appreciate how considerate and deliberate the board has been in this discussion. It's not an easy decision. We do have options, and I will tell you something occurred to me the week of Christmas, actually, and I want to share that as an aside that you may wish to consider. And we have been talking about renovate new, and then within many of our conversations that we had, especially our virtual town halls, people are asking, well, what would a new building look like? And our answer had always been, well, however we want it to look. It's really just a square foot issue. We design it how we want it to. And not going forward with designing a new school, because if we do that, it costs us money to design something we might not build. We do feel like we needed to put some time into this building to see what the possibilities were for this building. So with that and the conversation I had with Lancer plus BB the week of Christmas, actually, I said, hey, you guys have some buildings that you've already built that kind of meet our profile and what we're looking for in an elementary school, that we may borrow. And they said, well, yeah. And so the bottom line is, I learned something pretty substantial, and that is, if we borrow from another elementary design, we could save up to $500,000 in design fees, which is very substantial. It helps kind of close that gap between building new and renovating this and trying to find really what is the best for the future. So I think that's something that you may want to continue to explore. If you choose this option, you could choose for us to explore borrowing from another design. And we have time to do that. As a matter of fact, we've been told by Mark Beebe, the chief architect, that actually it condenses the planning process a lot, because there's several months in just, you know, kicking ideas around and getting started. So that was kind of a neat little benefit, plus the significant savings. And then additionally, if we don't build this building, what are some other options we have for this building to utilize the square foot we have in this building? Because it's a good building. How could we maximize this square footage? So I kind of wanted to add that to your discussion, so that option 2 that you moved and seconded in December, now there's a little bit of extra information for you guys to deliberate, and I will leave it for your deliberation.
I need a motion before we can deliberate.
I do like the idea of using a plan that's already been developed, especially if it's going to save us that much money. It wouldn't have to be exactly as it's given to us. I'm assuming we could tweak it if we needed to. Any other discussion on, or does anybody have a motion they want to, if you're,
I'd like to just say that, in the public work session that we had last week, we spent some time really diving into this, and I do commend my fellow board members because this has been a long process, and Bill and Chad have had to put in some extra hours to get up to speed, and I commend Dr. Parker for having that light bulb moment in December and bringing another option, and in doing so, being good stewards of what we've been gifted in this community. And I think that says a lot, so thank you for that.
I think the option that Shannon is alluding to now is option number 4. Is that right? There were 3 options, and now we're looking at the 4th option. So if we understand what we're looking at here, I would make a motion that we proceed with option 4.
which would be, just to be more specific, to borrow from a design somebody else has
Yes.
used, build new, and use this building, I'm not saying it exactly, and use this building in whatever way we can use it and be financially responsible.
Yes, that is correct.
I'll second the motion.
So it's been moved by Phil, seconded by Shannon, to build a new elementary using a design given to us by an architect firm, not given, but using a design from an architect firm, and then use this building for whatever purposes we can, being very financially responsible with that, and that would be our path to move forward. Any other questions or comments on that before we take a vote?
I would just like to say, first of all, I'd like to appreciate everybody's hard work in trying to find us the most cost-effective way forward on this. Where I was really hung up with building new was we have a good building here we could have used. And I'm looking at the design now, and it really had a hard time with the 6 interior classrooms. I wouldn't want my kids in an interior classroom. I wouldn't want to ask a teacher to spend all day in an interior classroom. So I like the idea of reusing an existing design where we can almost pick it up and drop it in someplace. So it's good.
I think too, with refurbishing, where I finally landed was, there's so many unknowns with the building when you start taking things out and tearing it down, and you just don't know what you're going to get into, where if you're building brand new, you're getting brand new. And I feel like when we had our work session in, was that December when we did that? No, that was last week. Last week. Sorry. The energy savings on a new building, which I felt were pretty significant, or they felt like would be pretty significant on a new building, as opposed to the HVAC in this building is going to need major overhaul or replacing, I forget which, but the new building of course wouldn't. So I think that was definitely a turning point for me, and you just don't know what you're going to get into when you're refurbishing.
Kelly, I think another great thing to point out, not only the change orders that we may experience with refurbishing, but the security aspect that we would be able to have in a new building. And of course, we want our students to attend the safest buildings possible, and a new design gives us that option to be able to make sure that that happens for our students.
Now, keeping in mind, we've got to refurbish this building anyway, just not as an elementary school. So we're still going to have the HVAC, we're still going to have all the other issues when we do the admin building, or whatever we decide to do with this building, we're still going to have those expenses. So I was less hung up on that.
I guess I was, because this wouldn't be necessarily, students wouldn't be, not that you want less quality for the administrators, we want the very best for our administrators. But I felt more affected by that when students are in the building, you just don't know what you're, yeah, so I felt like that's where I was coming with the student. I really love our administrators, and I want them to have the best. I really do.
So Kelly, that you just alluded to the same thing I was thinking, that in the end, the idea of borrowing a design allows us to put our students in the newest, most educationally designed facility that we can. And if there is a sacrifice, we're going to ask adults that aren't providing instruction on a daily basis to kids to be the ones that make the sacrifice. And I think that once you've established that and go down the road of what to do with this building, you're probably going to open up more options and other possibilities that didn't even exist in any of the original options, because that wasn't part of the thought process, but that it's going to make other options more financially reasonable and definitely improve their current situations as well.
That's exactly what I was thinking. You said it much better, Don. All right, any other comments or questions? If not, all in favor of the motion presented, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.